Okay, we're going to work on this Chapter 7 test remediation. For problem number 1, you need to remember a few things. You need to remember that the word sum is the answer to an addition problem. The word difference is the answer to a subtraction problem. The word product is the answer to a multiplication problem, and the word quotient is the answer to a division problem. That will help you figure out which ones are which. Also, when you're doing these, you just go right in order of what it says. So for example, this one down here, it says 9 is. So it needs to start with 9 when you're looking for it. Okay? When you're changing it to an equation, and it has a word sentence, you need to go right in order with what the word sentence says, first things first. Okay, a reminder on solving equations for 2, 3, 4, and 5. Every single time on each one of these, the only hint I'm going to give you is you always make the railroad track. I'll show you on the first one. You always circle the variable, and whichever side you circle the variable on, you perform the opposite operation to solve. So on this one, 3 is being subtracted from x. So the opposite of subtraction is addition, right? So now instead I add 3 to both sides. What this allows me to do is 3 minus 3 is nothing. So I'm left with my x. To get what x equals, I add these two together. Okay? 3, 4, 5, you're going to do the same thing. Draw your railroad track, circle your variable. You're going to work on the side with your variable, perform the opposite operation, and then solve it. Okay? Don't get confused on number 4. Right now it's being multiplied. When you divide, it's okay to have a fraction. It doesn't have to go in evenly. All right. Number 6. If you remember, when you have an ordered pair, the first number is always your x, and the second number is always your y. And so what you're doing is instead of having this x and this y, you're putting these numbers in. So instead of y, it says y is 9, so you put 9 right here. Instead of x, instead of 4 times x, you're going 4 times 3, and then you're subtracting 3. If they equal each other, if that answer equals 9 and 9 equals 9, it's yes. If it doesn't, it's no. 7 and 8. You're writing the word sentence as an inequality. Once again, go right with what it says. If it says a number x, write down the x. Okay? If it says a number p, write down the p. Okay? You have to know the signs. You have to know that less than goes this way, that more than goes this way. Also, I taught you Jarvis' trick that if it says no more, or if it says at most, for example, I taught you that if it starts with no or at, you automatically have a line underneath for equals. Then you do the opposite. Instead of more, you make a less than. If it says most, you make the opposite of most is less than. There's a paper in your notes that has every single one of these. But you have to know these in order to make the correct inequality. Once again, this is less than, this is greater than. This would be like no more, this would be at most. You've got to know which ones are which. Number 9 is just like number 6. Instead of this x right here, you're going to have a 5. And so you're going to go 2 times 5 instead of 2 times x. And then you need to tell me, is the one less than or equal to the other, yes or no? Okay, on the back side, you're solving the inequality. First of all, a lot of you in these boxes put r equals or x equals. It doesn't equal anything, actually. It says that it's less than or equal to here, and here it says it's greater than. And so in this box, you should have that it's less than or equal to, and in this box, you should have that it's greater than. Okay, when you go to solve it. How do you solve it? You solve it the same way you solve equations. You make your railroad track, you circle your variable, you perform the opposite operation. So like this one is subtracting 7, so instead I add 7 to both sides. Then I'm left with my answer. I'm just left with r, is less than or equal to whatever 2 plus 7 is, put it in. Okay? I told you when you go to graph these, whatever number is right here should be in the center here. Okay? In this case, it's 9. So I put my 9 here. Then I go 10 and 11, for example, and 8 and 7. These aren't just any numbers you want. They're whatever's in this inequality right here. Okay? Remember, if it has an equal sign, if it's less than or equal to, you've got to have a filled-in dot here at the number. Okay? If it's not equal to, it's an open dot. This one doesn't have an equal sign, so it should be an open dot. How do you know which way to draw the arrow? Well, you can draw the arrow the way it's already going in the inequality, and you'll get it right. Okay, this was an extra credit one, so I'm not going over it. This, you have to know that area equals the length times the width. So you have 8 times something is equaling 32. 8 times something equals 32. If you don't know that, you could look at your multiplication effects chart. You could also make your railroad track and solve it that way. Okay, the very last one. There was 3 parts to this. You had to have an equation first. We went over this the other day. It costs $60 to rent a car for a day. Well, that's probably important. It costs $60. Every person that rents a car, it's going to be $60. Okay? Each gallon of gas you use costs an additional. Do you see the word add? You're adding something. It's additional. What's additional? Well, it's an additional $4. Okay? What's an additional $4 for? Each gallon of gas. Well, how many gallons of gas do I have? Well, I don't know that answer. That's why this is an X and it equals something. Put what it equals. Okay? This becomes your X here and this becomes your Y here. When X is 0, what is Y? When X is 1, what is Y? When X is 2, what is Y? When X is 3, what is Y? Remember, the X's, when you go to graph here, are where you hop on the elevator. So the first one you hop on at 0, and when X is 0, what's the answer here? Put the dot wherever it goes. When X is 1, what's the answer? When X is 2, what's the answer? When X is 3, connect your dots and you are done. Okay, once you have finished fixing this, do not turn it in the box, bring it to me, and thank you for making your quiz score better. I appreciate it.